on my face this whole game as they push for 100 points. I'd love to see them do it. I'd love them to overtake the 97 that Cloud9 were able to achieve on week number 2. But they still have to get through a lot of teams who are going to be fighting desperately for points here on set. Because it's all well and good talking about who wins the group, but there's still ALGS Pro League points available for so many of these teams, and it could make or break their season.
Oh, 100%. It's not just the qualification spots, remember. It's not just top 10 in North America. The relegation spots are still there as well. And for those teams that are on the cusp, they don't want to go through that Challenger circuit. They don't want to go into those relegation games and have to battle their way back into Pro League for next season. So for every single player and every single team in the lobby, so much still to fight for. And we're going back to the north, Dan. I love to see it. We're going over towards Overlook. We're taking ourselves to the northeast side of World's Edge. And you can see that's going to be a pretty good zone for the likes of Complexity, a good zone for the likes of Torrent, and to be honest with you, probably a good zone for Sentinels, because at the moment it doesn't matter where it goes.
Yeah, see, Apex has been a bit like me, really, just avoiding the north in general. But for now, it seems like in North America, it's okay to go up to the north, because there's been, what, 3-4 zones we've had northern? So this has been a much better variety when it comes to zones. It's allowed teams to experiment their rotations and really demonstrate how they play the game, no matter where that zone is pulling. For Sentinels, they are going to have a longer rotation than they had previously in some games, with the zone pulling very close to them. But I think that's just going to play into their hands more, if I'm honest. They want to hunt for kills. They want to go for that big 100. We've already seen the tweet. They have all but secured the victory here in this week. Despite for something, I don't know, it would be a surprise result if they were to go out in like 19th, get no points, and then second place were to get a 35 bomb. That might just, you know, turn it around. But I can't see Sentinels going out without at least a few KP to work with here.
And one thing I've loved about today as well that I think has also played into the hand of Sentinels a little bit is the prevalence of the Peacekeeper coming back into the meta for the shotguns. Because, you know, the EVA 8 was something that obviously they had success with before, but it was so dominant that, you know, the other shotguns kind of got left to the side a little bit. But the PK now is, in my opinion, the strongest of the shotguns. It's a risk-reward gun, as we all know. You hit your shots, you look great, you do 60 to 100 damage, and you look like an absolute boss. But if you miss, that longer reload time and the longer sort of shots between when you do press the trigger, it does leave you a little bit vulnerable. For Sentinels, with the mechanical ability they have in those bubble fights, the Peacekeeper has been a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, I think Peacekeeper, Mastiff, I think seeing them both being used more than the EVA 8 makes me personally happy. I've always thought the EVA 8 was a bit spammy, and even though there was some skill behind it, certainly single-shot weapons, I will think there's going to be a bit more skill in general. But the shotgun meta is certainly in a healthy place right now, one of the healthiest it's been in quite some time, and it has certainly been a joy to watch. But 19 squads still remaining. Of course, 19 only in this lobby. Benchwarmers disbanded, so that 20th team and that 20th spot is not dropping onto World's Edge. But with the final game, there is a lot to play for with a lot of these teams, especially on the lower side. I think that Complexity, they'll still be pushing for the top 2 finish. They are in second at the moment, but Premier GG are right hot on their heels. And what a story it is for Hill as well, joining Premier and
super happy
being
for
in 3rd place right now. It's so difficult when, if you get dropped from a team or if you leave from a team, whatever happens, but then to perform so successfully on your new team, that's going to be one of the best feelings. He'll be on top of the world.
Well, good news here for Mr. Taylor, or Tom. I don't know why I've called him Mr. Taylor. I've never called him
very
that.
formal.
Tom T Squared, isn't it? It feels like I'm writing him a letter. It's going to be Reptile who has that Sentinel in his hands again, so he might be able to do some big damage. NRG making their way from staging now to see if they could get some more beacon information, maybe hit before they make their next move as well. But they might be on the hunt for some KP as well here, Dan. They'll want to try and put pressure onto Sentinels. They don't want to leave this, you know, the story being all about Sentinels today. NRG want to upset Sentinels. NRG want to take them out of the game, and they want to make it as tight as possible.
Yeah, and NRG will want to push their way up to, you know, top 2, at least, minimum. Because they're, what, 39 points behind Sentinel, so let's be real. They're not going to catch Sentinels.
It ain't happening, is it?
30,
it's not happening.
Even if they had the best game of their lives, it's not going to happen. Complexity, they're 32 points behind Sentinels. That is somewhat doable, but still, I think it's a bit of a stretch. But what NRG can do is they can catch Complexity. They're 7 points short of Complexity, 6 points short of Premier. So top 3, top 2 is definitely achievable. They will want KP here, but they will also be playing it safe, try and get some placement points to ensure they pick up more Pro League.
Here comes a aggressive push, and the PK once again. having a say in this battle. 86-54, add them all up, but here is Sentinels. What's the one team you don't want to be pushing? It's Sentinels, and I don't care who you are, the road to 100 has started in the best possible way here for Sentinels. They pick up 3 KP, none of them got downed, they're all still healthy, they didn't have that armor swap down, they can just heal, it's quicker almost for them.
We're on to 83, we're 17 short of 100 now.
You're keeping track of that, by the way. I am not being responsible for that.
We will keep track of it as best as we can. I mean, just a win alongside these KPs would have them 5 points short of that 100 mark now. So all they would need is what? So 8 kills plus a victory. So, you know, it's not far off, and it is definitely achievable. Definitely achievable.
They'll be jumping on the replicator for now. Just getting some extra supplies before they make their way forward. But once again, it's just the Sentinels show. Every time a bubble goes down, I just feel like they know they're going to win the fight. I've never seen a team as confident as Sentinels going inside of a bubble, whether it's theirs or an opponent's. They just don't care. It's, you know, cover for them to play around. The mechanical skill of Senox and Lou, I really feel does stand out. And Crossed as well, man. I mean, we're talking about Senox and Lou, right? But Crossed is absolutely ridiculous as well. All 3 players, it's difficult to really, you know, put a marker between them about who is better in those bubble fights and who is better mechanically overall. I'm sure they argue among themselves a little bit. They're a competitive bunch, Sentinels.
It's also difficult to believe that when they moved from that week 1, where they had an amazing week, 92 points, and then week 2, they dropped to 23 points. And it does show that these groups differ hugely. We are in a lobby where some of these teams, I think T2 said off air, they're just not really keeping up with some of the better teams that we have in these lobbies, and he's completely right. Yeah. And it goes to show that when you look over towards some of the other groups, there are some teams that can contest with the likes of Sentinels, the likes of NRG, and Sentinels seem to flourish in a lobby full of teams where they can kind of beat on, they can bully, but when there are more teams that can match them at that level, they drop off ever so slightly. So they need to find that same confidence that they're finding in a lobby like today when we get to, you know, those big serious matches, when we get to playoffs and when we get to LANs. I want to see this Sentinels playing. Sentinels who are oozing confidence, not scared of fights, and they will push everything and anything that gets in their way.
Well, let's see what NRG are up to now as they make their rotation. We've got a listening ready, so let's jump into the comms.
Nice.
Good.
Those James guys, are those guys anywhere near us? They're not too far behind, probably. They've done well a few games.
Do we want to hit beacon?
Yeah, may as well. Yeah, it's just that zone. Fight for like the north side.
No Bob.
Near me. They're below the ridge though.
No bubble, no bubble.
Give me purple.
Walking up on the
Popping about, popping about, popping about. They're challenging somewhere near you. Maybe wrapping your right.
Yeah, they are.
They're far. They're far.
One is blue. Him 30. Give ulted. I'm backing up.
Yeah, I have the backside. I'm like across the street.
I might be in a bad. I think I'm fine now.
What has a gold? Alright, fire. I'm popping.
I can't see.
He's on the tipping the building.
I'm fine.
Is that Ash? Yeah. Just wrap down.
Yeah, just go down. We should just go down and just survey right now. This isn't a good fight for us.
Team in observation got us.
Yeah. Get into the close building and reset. Interesting.
So NRG continue on their rotation. They very much avoid that fight, and for good reason. We saw Premier GG eliminating the kill feed just before we jumped into that listening. They are the one team ahead, or one of the teams that NRG are chasing right now. So they're 7 points behind Premier, and they very much will be able to make that up with Premier being eliminated. That is bad news for PGG.
Bad news for PGG, but as you say, great news for NRG. We see that next circle going as well, and we're going to be going even further to the west here. So it's going to be those rocks where we're going to be ending up in our final game of the day. So elevation is going to be so vital to take early on, well, as early as you can, because fighting towards that elevation is going to be extremely difficult towards the end game. The redeploy coming in now from NRG. They have managed to overtake one team on this rotation as well. However, taking a little bit of damage through the skies as the emotes are going to get hit just to make sure that they're as difficult a target as physically possible. Something to certainly note if you're a Valkyrie player, to tell your teammates if you're playing in ranks, just hit those emotes and make sure that you're spinning around in the air and you're making yourself as difficult a target as possible. But they're going to be taking the gondolas over as Sentinels now inside of the next zone, but they look like they're on the hunt at the moment, Dan. It looks like maybe 100 points is something they want, almost as much as anyone is unlucky. Well, they're getting in a little bit of a battle here. Both bubbles are going to go down after the initial damage. Prodigy Ace is inside that bubble, and they're trying to get aggressive here. PK in hand. Castelos manages to knock one. Senpai will do some more damage as well, and that's going to be the end of that fight. That was as easy as you could possibly like, and that's Era Eternity who fall.
Era Eternity are in 15th place. They're not going to have a chance to try and make their way up the leaderboard as they are wiped very comfortably, it was in the end, despite some arc stars and defensive arc stars that came out. Oxygen also in a little bit of trouble, having to just back off and reassess the situation, maybe pop a bat or two. So it was also good news, Premier being eliminated for the likes of Renegades and Estral. They're still on the search of trying to get top 3. They're certainly not out of reach, even though we're talking about NRG as the main focus there. There are other teams who could still push up into that top 3 if NRG were to be wiped a little bit earlier here.
With that KP, they've managed to find themselves somewhere to play here, unlucky, inside of that next zone as well. I should say the next zone, zone 4. As we see the beacon information, they do get scanned on their way forward here. So Castelos is going to pop the Bloodhound ulti here. He's going to take some damage, and maybe lucky he did to have that increased speed to move forward. The gold armor is certainly going to help him out here to get back to full health. His teammates are really struggling, though, in this fight. And it looks like Built by Gamers have decided they want to get involved with this one. They see the opportunity to push. The PKs are going to be hitting once more. Wicked doing some big damage, but who's going to come out on top here? Sync flies in and manages to clean up the fight. And he will get the res. Now be Built by Gamers who win the fight initially, but the missile swarm might just be enough as a third party is now entering, and that's going to be Complexity saying, "Good evening, everybody. We'll have those KP."
Yeah, Complexity just dropping the Nox gas, and that was enough to get the final kill, but Monsoon's been knocked. Davis wave from the distance, and now senior servers are looking to try and be a real thorn in the side of Complexity here. Complexity are desperately going to try and get the res, but it's not going to happen when Reptar also gets beamed out of the sky. But Senior Service will not want to push on this one just yet.
But there's a
or
team
will
moving
they?
Up. There's a team moving up on the ramp here, and it's NRG. And like you mentioned, Senior Service, they come in for the third play, but they're just a few seconds too late. And now NRG, having picked up some KP onto Complexity down, which is huge in the complex of the standings, might have even more opportunity for KP here.
Yeah, so NRG already seeing Premier wiped, now might be able to have the chance of wiping Complexity, which they do. Complexity are down and out. So NRG really with a massive chance to take second place overall here. We think first is pretty much unreachable, so we won't even talk about it, but they definitely can take second. They were 6 of Premier, 7 short of Complexity. All they have to do is get to the end game here, and they will secure themselves second place. But there are a few teams close behind them that could make it a nuisance, from the likes of Renegades, the likes of Astral Esports. They could also pip NRG here if NRG kind of take their foot off the pedal a little bit and they don't push for those extra KP, don't push for those extra placement points.
Well, look at Sentinels right now. I think they're waiting for a 3-2-1 opportunity. A few shots are going to be exchanged from distance, though, which might disrupt that idea. As Lou faces up there to make sure his teammates can just back up for a few seconds, using that extra HP on the gun shield to just hold their ground for now. But they're in a really good spot here, Sentinels, pretty much center zone. As we see the map overhead and where some teams are still rotating their way in. That yellow team in the northwestern side of things on the bridge, that is going to be NRG. They're just trying to hold out that team to the north of them at the moment. But they've got teams either side of them at the moment, so not as easy a rotation here for NRG maybe as they would have wanted. But they do have the KP, like you mentioned, and their closest rivals outside of Sentinels have been eliminated.
We've also not seen a team in North America get 3 wins in a Pro League week yet. So that's another record that Sentinels could potentially break here, and maybe something they're going for alongside those 100 points. And it would put them in a really good footing, like moving towards potential match point when we go into playoffs and we go into LANs. Like having those statistics behind you and having that confidence that you can win multiple end games and multiple zones really would be an amazing thing to push forward. But right now, as you say, center circle, they can be patient. They can watch on, they can look at the lay of the land, and they can just decide what they want to do when the situation approaches.
Yeah, one of the best spots on the map. It's as simple as that. They do have to hold out these teams which might be camping in Overlook at the moment, but the way the Sentinels play, if any kind of fighting breaks out behind them, you know they're going to be hungry for the third party. As I said, they're probably as keen to put 100 points on the board and really send out a message to the rest of the Apex Legends Global Series across the globe, not just in North America, that they are the team to beat at the moment. But Renegades are kind of inching their way in towards zone as well. They have their backs clear, which is always rule one when you're getting into these kind of positions, but can they force their way into an even better one? Some Skynades going out, and that's going to be towards Sentinels.
I'm glad we're focusing Renegades a little bit here, because they're another team who are definitely within the question of finishing top 3, even potentially top 2. Now we've seen both Premier and Complexity wiped. Renegades were 10 points short of Complexity, 9 points of Premier. GG. They've got a crack here. Are they going to push up on it? Doesn't look like they are. They have the Ash ultimate if they want to. They can TP on teams and get aggressive, but for now, they're in a position where they can just hold because there's so much utility being thrown at them.
The difficulty here is, yes, Noble took damage, and yes, Noble may have been pushable, but with the team underneath, there was always going to be the third-party opportunities for them just to hit the zip line and jump up and really end the game of Renegades. So a risk-reward decision being made, and the call was made that the risk was not worth the reward. However, if they can pick them up without giving away too much damage, then it might be a little bit more of a pushable fight for them. Now they're committing to it, Renegades. Pow Pow's taking some damage himself, but here comes the team from below as well, and this is what I was worried about here. Noble doing a good job to hold, but are the team below going to hear the noise? Are they going to move in? Renegades managed to pick up 2, and now it's a 1v1 at the top of the zip line. The Wraith is Flesh, but the knockdown shields are being super effective here. Renegades come out, and look at that. It's the team from below with a defensive bombardment as Lazarus now have a look in the distance. And Sentinels, once again, just kings of the castle, looking for any KP on the edges of zone.
That's a shame for Renegades. That ruins their chances of pushing for a top 3. So Complexity and Premier GG will be delighted watching in the wings, knowing that they still will at least hold on to probably a top 5 spot minimum, if not even top 4, top 3, potentially, depending on what happens with NRG here. But Sentinels still kings of the castle, and Rocker has actually just gone down elsewhere to RKN, so Torrent are being a nuisance.
Sentinels gets the kill,
yeah,
though.
They get the finish, and that will be a KP going towards Torrent, of course, but it does mean that that is going to be one member of NRG knocked and out.
Xenox then looking to scrape around the edges of this zone, and they've got their backs clear. And this is looking like another really solid performance here from Sentinels. Estral Esports, I need to give a little bit of a shout out to these guys, though. What a performance it's been from these gentlemen. Consistently, not just in this group, but they have been in end zones more often than not. Really consistent team here. As Jalapin has a few players in his sightlines now, with the wingman just trying to zone out that team. But Senior Service as well, they've been pretty impressive today, Dan. Been involved in some decent end games. You heard it from the comms from NRG saying the Senior Service seem to keep an eye on. They've been playing pretty well, and up on that tower, they might have an opportunity to really disrupt things here as Sentinels now make their move in as well. They're inside the zone. They're creeping up on these kills as well, or I should say this fight, and looking to turn it into kills.
Sweet is the last remaining player of NRG. 10 squads left. He needs to do some work. Needs to push himself into the top 5 to give them a chance of overtaking the likes of Premier GG and Complexity. Estral, that we were focusing on, were 14 points short of second place, so there is still a chance they could push their way up if they can have a big finish, win this game, and have a couple of KP, as NRG's Sweet is still the last remaining player, but he's being chased, but he will hold the portal for now. If NRG go down here, it might ruin their chance of getting top 2.
A lot of pressure on the shoulders of Sweet. The one good thing is, in 5 seconds time, he will have the ability to jump back into the void, so he can survive for a few more moments if the shots do come in. He has the cover from the team above, though, so this is one of the best positions you can possibly be in as a rat. As now we see in the kill feed, Torrent, RKN manages to get one knock onto a player from Lazarus. Senior Service just tanking a little bit of damage from the defensive bombardment. Sweet managing to just about jump into the void here, but he's going to run around this corner. I'm pretty sure that Estral Esports might be aware of it, but look at this. Somehow Sweet has managed to escape for now. Can he get the battery off without showing any presence? He does for now, but now he can't jump into the void, and Sweet is just jumping around corners and doing desperate things to survive.
Just needs to get into the top 8 for one extra placement point and then edge towards maybe a top 5, but it seems every corner he turns, there's just another team waiting there, but that's one more team being knocked out. Ghosts go down. It's top 8 secured for NRG. Is there any more placements that Sweet can gain just by being a little rat here, a little sneaky beaver? Every single time that he heals up, he'll give away an audio cue to those teams, but he's still just about surviving.
Sentinels picked up some KP as well in the background while all of this was going on. Estral Esports still just crouching under this building, playing the low ground. They've got a team above them for now, but Sentinels got to be careful here. 8 squads remaining now. And only Senox alive. Defensive bombardment coming down as well. He's going to do a little bit of damage. There's a bubble on the edge here, and this is going to be very, very difficult to survive. Senox can't do it. Cross survives for now, but a 3v1 inside of that building is going to spend the end here for Sentinels as they finally go down. We won't see the 100-point mark being broken this time around.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they would have been able to achieve the 100. Definitely not enough KP by them. But it does mean it gives the chance for Estral Esports and still NRG, who are alive, to pick up some serious places here. Senior Service down to just 2, 7 squads remaining. Sweet is still somewhere lurking, and there he is, somehow still alive. But he is the furthest point away from the circle. He's very much hovering on the edge right now. But we're down to 6. Every single time a team is knocked away now, it's more placement points secured for Sweet.
Oh, he jumps into the void, and even with Legacy MX coming up behind him, Sweet is still surviving for now. Keep your eyes on that kill feed to see if he is eliminated, but it doesn't look like at the moment anyone is focusing on him. So with 6 squads remaining, Sweet still doing some god work as the rat. Another battery going to be popped for him. You have to wonder what the med situation is going to be like for him right now. Can't jump into the void for another 1 second. If he can survive, he might be able to do so. Can he hit the queue? Can he survive for now? Or is he just going to wait a few more seconds, trying to bait these two teams into fighting each other? And somehow, Sweet's still alive with 6 squads remaining, but it's looking like the end. 1 HP. NRG still surviving. How are you doing this, Sweet?
There's a defensive bombardment coming as well. Just needs to get this med off. There's knocks going down. If he can get top 5, this could be huge. He's even got a Phoenix kit as well. And look at these knocks. Estral Esports have lost 1. This could be massive for NRG. This could be the difference between 4th place and top 2.
And look at this, he's found a place away from the action as well. Oxygen now involved in a fight. We're going to see a top 4 finish now for NRG. That's massive, but Oxygen, I think they've located Sweet's location here. They're going to try and move up on him. Sweet's still alive for now, though. He's going to jump into the void once more. 3 squads remaining. This is magic coming in from Sweet. The problem for him is a lack of meds now. He's going to run late into zone. He might be able to get top 2 if he can get this knock as well, but finally he will fall to the Nox gas as we see Torrent come in, call themselves champion of our final game of the day. A great result for Torrent, but NRG fans rejoice because Sweet just pulled off a miracle.
I think Sweet might have just pushed NRG from 4th place to 2nd place with that ratting ability. He guaranteed at least 7 points from placement.